Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fireside Cocktails. I'm your host, Susi Damilano, the co-founder of the San Francisco Playhouse, and I am coming to you this time live from Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz is the was is is home of the hold on always was people who are also known as the Santa Cruz people. So I can get the second one completely right. And they're one of 8 divisions of the Ohlone Native Americans of Northern America. And what we want to do before we get started tonight is recognize their connection and give them gratitude for the opportunity to live, work, learn, play on the beach on their land. And I'd like to just take a moment of silence to pay respects to their elders and to all the Ohlone people of past and present, and to all the Ohlone descendants who are working today to preserve and nourish this Indigenous identity. So let's take that moment. Thank you. So tonight is Fireside Cocktails, which is one of my favorite things that we've started doing during this pandemic break that we're on. And for those of you who are here joining us for the first time, the plan for the evening is this. We'll be here for about 45 minutes, and we're going to kick off by learning and making our guests' go-to beverage. Now, while we do that, I want you to, underneath the screen where you're watching me right now is a chat room. If it's not open, just click on chat. And where it says guest, you can type over that with your name. And then in the next box, you can type in a question that might come up or a comment that you have for anything that you're seeing. And about 20 minutes into the interview, I'm going to be asking, looking and seeing in the chat for what questions there might be, and we'll address those then. So let's get on with the show. Having just wrapped art while simultaneously directing a live stream play that he is directing, our guest tonight is a man of many talents. He's an actor in both theater and film. And matter of fact, many of our current subscribers are here because of his fantastic performance as my poor tongue tonight, as Professor Higgins in My Fair Lady. He's an actual professor at San Jose State, where students rate him consistently with 5 out of 5 stars. I found this online, and saying things like Professor Moreno is one of the most caring professors at San Jose State University. I had the pleasure of directing him in Stupid Fucking Bird, where I got to witness his generous heart and incredible talent. And right now, I am certain there are a lot of fans watching. So let's welcome the dreamy Johnny Moreno to Fireside Cocktails. Welcome, Johnny.
Wow. Thank you, Susan.
Oh, so glad to see you, hear you. Thank you for being here. So what we're going to start off tonight with is you're going to tell me what we're drinking and give a little history to why we're drinking it, and then we'll start drinking it.
Okay. Great. I can't wait. Really, 5 stars. You found that out online?
I did. I Googled you, and it was a website called Rate Your Professor. And you have a whole bunch of entries, and all of them are about how amazing you are.
I'm impressed.
It's true.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. A lot of them said that they were terrified of coming in and speaking in front of people, but you were just so kind and low key about it that they loved it. And here's another little secret. They all say it's an easy A.
Damn it. Well, thank you, Susie. I'm glad. That warms my heart. I appreciate that. So the go-to beverage, is that what you asked?
Yes.
All right. So after every show at the Playhouse, actually almost every show, go to the wonderful bar in the lobby. and there's always this wonderful glass of red wine waiting for me. And that is my go-to beverage. I don't really have a cocktail per se, but red wine has always been a huge part of my life. I grew up in the Napa Valley as a kid, riding my bike through the vineyards. Obviously, I wasn't drinking at that point, but being in that atmosphere was just, it does something to you. And then, of course, when I went back as a member of the Napa Valley Shakespeare Festival, when I was drinking, I was able to partake with all kinds of different wines in the Napa Valley, Cabernets and Pinots and Zins and all this wonderful world of winemaking. I just fell in love, and it became my go-to, with as well as the arts. So they kind of came hand in hand.
I love it. And so you told me that to pick one of two bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked both of them, and then you picked what we're going to have tonight. You want to tell us what that is?
Yes. So my wife and I, we're big Pinot fans. So mostly I like the Sonoma Coast area. And when I say Sonoma Coast, I mean particularly the actual coast itself. So the appellation Sonoma Coast is kind of, it's massive, but really Sonoma Coast wines are my particular favorite when it comes to Pinots. But my second favorite and more affordable favorite is the Willamette Valley in Oregon. So that valley sort of sits from the north of Oregon all the way down to Eugene along the coast as well, and along the Willamette River. So lately the wines there have been spectacular, particularly the vintage around 2016 and 17. Hello, sweetie. So my daughter just popped in. So yes.
Come say hi.
You want to say hi? Let me see the pumpkin at least.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen you you have to introduce yourself.
You see your name?
I'm Paloma.
Paloma. How old are you now?
9.
Oh my God. I was just watching a new show called The Queen's Gambit, and the girl that's the star at 9 starts playing chess and ends up being a world champion.
I think that's next on our list. Queen's Gambit. Yeah.
You said I'm gonna have a treat, so do you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Ice cream?
Yeah, go for it. Just a dessert check. Yes, absolutely. Sorry.
No problem. We want to get to know
you
you better. We got to get you know
yes,
better.
got to know my daughter. Okay, great.
Yes.
Oh, so yes, the Willamette Valley. So Jess and I, we've been big fans of this area. I think particularly the Evesham vineyards is making some great Pinots. And of course this Fela vineyard, which is also Napa as well. So yes, they have got some grapes out in Willamette Valley. They do some Sonoma Coast Pinots, some really great Sonoma Coast Pinots, and then some stuff in the actual Napa Valley, St. Helena area. So just the Willamette Valley in general, the Pinots, the grapes there, they got a great fruit forward to them. I just, it's just, I don't know if it's the climate, what's going on in the world. If anything good's been happening, the Willamette Valley Pinot has been spectacular. So.
Well, I am dying of thirst to try it now. So I'm confused. About a half hour, you texted me and said, open it up so it can breathe, but you've got a cork on yours.
I did, but I corked it. So I stick it on top gently. So it still breathes.
Oh, okay.
Give it a good 45 minutes to an hour. Let it breathe.
Okay.
And I will say this, I don't know if you guys can appreciate it, but it was on accident. My wine glasses have all broken. So I had to go to my go-to, which is my,
ooh.
I don't know if you can read this. Maybe it's
Is that Camelot?
It says Camelot,
oh my God.
San Francisco Playhouse. And on the back,
yes.
it's Arthur there.
Oh my God, who made those?
It was made by Addie. Addie was in our cast, and so she had made them all for each of us, which was an awesome gift. So thank you.
That
Addie.
isn't. Thank you, Addie. I hope she's watching. Oh, that's really nice.
Oh yeah. See the
perfume? You know what I like about this? Yeah, it is sometimes Pinots are really light, and I just feel like throw a bunch of ice and drink it. but this has enough weight to it that I feel like I could eat it with a meal too.
Yes, and I would say in particular with the Willamette Valley wines, the roasted birds, chicken, things like that. Great,
Oh,
great food
yes.
pairing. So be sure to get the food pairing book, which I brought down here. So food pairing. This is a
Oh my
Bible here for
God.
those who love wines and white wines, red
Yeah.
wines, all that good stuff. You can pair it up with a meal and it really begins to explode. It's just fantastic. This is another part of why I love wine.
Johnny, this is amazing. I did not know this side of you. So do you also cook?
Well, yes, I do. My wife is much better though. She's a spectacular cook. My job is to pair the food with the wine with the food that she makes. But yes,
I love it. Oh my God. Okay, so the next time that we get together, I think this is going to be our theme. I love it.
great.
Okay. So here's a question. I have heard of you. I didn't start acting till I was in my early 30s, but I think I started hearing about you soon after I got into the San Francisco theater scene, just as Johnny, whenever I see you, I sing, I don't know why I sing Johnny Moreno. That's because I love
You do
him
that, yeah.
and I know that he loves me too. And I don't know, but I've always heard about you, but I feel like when did we meet?
Oh God.
Did we meet? Because I feel like I might not have actually met you until you worked on Period of Adjustment.
I think you're right. I think that's right.
So that's kind of incredible because now that you tell me that you grew up, because I thought maybe you were out of town, but I know you went to Solano College and George. Why did his last?
George McGuire.
Huh?
George McGuire.
George McGuire.
Yeah.
George McGuire is, I think your number one fan, and was your number one fan until all of the people at San Francisco Playhouse got to meet you. And now that I'm sure that the number one text being sent to Vera right now is, "Oh, he has a daughter." Just kidding. "Oh, he's married." I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I told you I was going to harass you about that. So you grew up in Napa, so you're a California boy, and
Yeah, so I'm a North Bay boy, I guess. I was born in Japan, actually. My father was in the military briefly, in the Air Force. So I was born out there, and then we came quickly out to American Canyon, Vallejo area.
Okay.
My parents separated,
Oh, cool.
and I was with my mother for 6 years, my sister and I. And so we grew up there, and then we moved to Fairfield, where I went to middle school and high school, and of course Solano College, where I met George. George and Bob Parsons, another SF Playhouse regular as well. So
yeah,
Bob was a big, both George and Bob were big mentors for me. I was kind of a sort of a rough kid getting into bad things, and sort of plucked off the street, if you will, and sort of dragged into this actor training program, whatever the heck that was, at Solano College. And I was asked to read a poem I had written and sing Happy Birthday. And I was accepted into the program, and I thought, well, this acting shit is easy. I'm going to do this. I worked with George and Bob, and they helped guide me kind of through what acting was, what storytelling meant, and what I had to do, and had a lot of experience to draw from how I was raised and grew up. And from there, auditioned for ACT. I was about 20, I think, 19, 20 years old, and got into the MFA program there. And so
wow,
the rest was history, I guess.
that's amazing. So you are Local Boy Makes Good. Now, did you always, because you did Period of Adjustments, and then you did My Fair Lady, where I think does Professor Higgins, you did sing a little bit, but he kind of sings, and then you came and did Camelot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the next progression? And I was like, when did Johnny start singing? Have you always been a singer?
I've always been I guess I've always been drawn to music. I think I tended to like singing. I did some rapping for a little while. I think I thought of myself as a pretty hardcore rapper for a day. But I had I did a lot of singing in that same actor training program. I think it was there that I realized, I could probably carry a tune. I remember the day with George McGuire, we had the actors singing for What's the show? Carousel, and Billy Bigelow, and there was
Nice.
a really good singer who was supposed to do it, and he didn't make it through the program, so they quickly asked me to jump in and do it. And it was, I think, since at that point, I went, wow, I can actually do this. But it really wasn't my main thrust as far as storytelling. It just seemed to be something I kind of fell into if I needed to. So yeah, Higgins was the first kind of foray into that, and then Camelot came along, and then from there, the rest, I kind of got stuck in musical theater land for a little while there.
You
And
did.
and gratefully so. There were some great parts like Camelot, and like I mean, God, as a kid, who doesn't want to pull the sword out of the stone, for crying out loud? I mean, it was
Oh my
such a
God.
wonder
Well,
to do that.
Camelot, the sword fighting in Camelot. Oh my God.
Yes.
That was crazy. And then you did Promises with us.
That's right.
And I'm not sure. And then I think we did Stupid Fucking Bird. I'm like, stop acting, come back to real, come back to my
I
land.
think I had to pull Bill aside and say, hey, I can't. We need to take a break from this because I had just did my what's the show down in San Jose stage? I did Addams Family, and then
Oh, right.
Three Penny Opera. We also did the Three Penny Opera. So there was just musical after musical after musical, which was again fantastic. But you start to forget where your roots are. Well, wait a minute. It'd be nice to act with somebody, to fall in love with somebody without bursting into song once in a while. So,
I love that. So just talking about different roles that you've played, are you the kind of actor that thinks about roles that you want to play? Or like, do you have dream roles? Do you have bucket list goals? Or how do you go about thinking about your acting career?
well, it's changed. I mean, it's changed quite a bit. I mean, when I first started, I remember talking with Jomar after we were leaving the final day of art on Saturday night. We were in the parking garage heading to our cars, and we both stopped and said, God, would we have ever been cast in these roles, say in the late 90s, for instance? We both went, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell we would have had that opportunity to be able to do that, right? There was I never imagined I could possibly be offered the role of Higgins in My Fair Lady. That was nowhere on that bucket list at all.
Oh,
So as a as a young actor of color, I'm part Filipino as well, and I there were certain expectations of what I could do. Type was a big thing, right? What type are you? And that's changed tremendously since I started. But I felt I was really limited to what I could do, and so I kept very stereotyped into certain roles, especially in LA. When I went there, the roles seemed to have minimized. So for me, it was less about what's on the bucket list as opposed to breaking down as many walls as I could, so that I could let casting directors know, let directors know that I'm an actor and I have lots of stories that I want to tell, right? We're complex human beings. And when I teach at San Jose as well, I don't ask them type. We don't use those words. I ask them, what stories do you want to tell? What's important to you? And so I think that's something that resonates obviously with me in my career. It's more about the journey and about, hey, I'd like to try all kinds of things. That's the whole fun thing about being an actor, right? Is opening all those doors inside of us, right? And then, of course, safely shutting them and moving on with your life, but be able to explore. So I also encourage my students to travel, see the world. When you're on that train, you're on that bus, what are most people doing when they're looking around, right? They're learning and I'm like, look around you. There's a world there. There's life happening. There's interesting people around you. And I think we really begin to appreciate it now that we're in our isolated bubbles and in quarantine. But anyway, so as far as a bucket list, I think I've lived it. I've been very lucky, thanks to you and Bill, and thanks to Randy and Kathy King in San Jose. Carrie Perloff gave me a huge start at ACT when I graduated there. And there was a lot of people who helped guide, and great mentors like George McGuire, Bob Parsons, Marco Betticelli. I've got to work with amazing people, and I feel very blessed and lucky.
That's beautiful. Everything that you just said, I'm like, here, cheers to that. So you brought up art. So art is it's streaming. We opened on last Saturday. Today's Thursday. I bet a lot of people that are watching have seen you do art. And what about it? It was different, right? Because the rehearsals were on Zoom, and then we went to the theater. Well, and then we got tested and tested and tested. And then we went to the theater and everybody crossed their fingers and we said, okay, guys, go. How did it compare to other experiences that you've had?
It doesn't. There's nothing I can compare it to, Susie. There's absolutely nothing. It was a tornado. I mean, it was a whirlwind. But of such gratitude too, though. I mean, I think a lot of actors and artists out there can relate. God, we need storytelling, right? As far as I'm concerned, it's an essential service. We need this. We need to be reminded of what connects us, what binds us as a sea of humanity, as I said, in these quarantine bubbles. So I was so grateful for it. But yeah, it was quite a whirlwind to first of all act with these great actors. I mean, Bob Beck and Jomar Tagatek. I mean, they're fantastic professionals, but to have to do it in these boxes is such a frustrating thing. My fingers want to ease through the screen, right? And but you know, we made do, and Bill was great. He was a fantastic guy to get us through it. But it's a whole different thing when you're in person, right? So here we are on screen, and then having to shift into the theater after multiple testing, as you said, and going through that craziness. To be in person, again, it was wonderful. But I sat there going, now what are we doing? Where are we standing? How am I supposed to get in on this? I think I wrote it down somewhere, but again, it's just this mad whirlwind. But you know, we had a fantastic crew, Stephanie and Angelo. Maggie was there to help guide us along too, to help us with the zones and the safety. I mean, you guys were so fantastic when it came to making us feel safe. But again, the process, I can't compare it to anything, maybe film sometimes. But with film, again, you have a few hours to get the one scene, right? Or the one take, or the one close-up. You can do that. I can get that in my body, and then I can flush it out, right? I'm done. But with this, it's a matter of, okay, I think I've got the blocking, but do I have it in my body? No, absolutely not. So it's a matter of pressing it all down, making sure the lines are there. And also taking what's coming at you from these wonderful, amazing actors who are throwing you curveballs left and right, and you're having to adapt, receive, react, right? Listen, and all that good stuff. At the same time, having 5 minutes to do it. So yeah, it was madness, and I'm gonna pull Bill English aside someday and have a good talk with him about that. But I'm also gonna give him a big hug when this whole thing is lifted, because I'm so blessed, filled with gratitude because of it.
Right, because you guys were still separate. You guys were in separate zones, so there was no hugging or anything like that to be had. Now, just for the people that may not know this, will you talk about? Because we live edited it. How did that tell everybody what that was, what that meant?
Oh boy.
Well, or if you don't know.
Well, it meant that well, editing is maybe some folks know, in a film, it happens after the fact. And so what you're doing is you're taking multiple shots of the same scene, right? So you have a scene, and you shoot a close up, you shoot a different angle, an over the shoulder shot, and then you take a wide, right? So it's pretty consistent each take, and all that's taken to the editor later, where it becomes sort of blended into the overall movie. In this case, it was happening as we were running through the entire production. So we weren't shooting little snippets of the scenes. We were running through the entire thing with 2 weeks and 2 days worth of rehearsal. So Bill was editing it as we were going. So not only were we acting with each other and deep emotions going on and at each other's throats, but you heard somebody in the house going 1, 3, 2, 1. So the first time it was a little unnerving, right? But it was Bill out there switching the cameras, the angles during the run through. So you gotta get lost in the lull of it, and it kind of becomes a rhythm of the piece. And so he was very much a part of it, shouting these random numbers.
No, that's so funny, because I sat next to Bill and he was whispering them. And so just for those of you, when you're sitting in an audience, just know that Bill literally was saying 1, 2, 3, and they could hear it.
Yeah.
So we can hear you.
That's right. You call that whispering. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm amazed that it didn't make it onto the thing. So yeah, so he shot one continuous, he shot it 4 times, Thursday, Friday, and twice on Saturday. And I think the one that everyone is seeing is the Saturday night run. And then he went in afterwards and just tweaked a couple little things, like when the camera would show up to somebody, it might be go in blurry. And you guys, I think, had been instructed to pause when you move to a new camera. So there was always a little bit of a gap, so he was able to edit those out. But I don't know, I think it's pretty, when I saw the first night, we went home and watched it just to see, because we've never done it before either. And I was watching him pick the things, and I'm pointing at the screen, no, go to camera 3, go to camera 3. And I thought, oh, this is not gonna work. This, of course, because I want to be the boss. But when we started watching it, it was fantastic. And I'm just so impressed, because for me, it was thrilling and fun. For you guys, it was terrifying, but it was so fun listening to Bill, watching you. And the camera people also are 100% invested, because they're having to constantly have a good frame, because they don't know when Bill's going to go to them. So they've always got to have a really good shot. And then the guy who's on the switcher is in the other room, and he's literally hitting the buttons. So everyone in the room is working. And you guys, the hardest thing too is what was it like doing a comedy without anybody? Because we couldn't laugh. We would laugh into our elbows.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's typically like a design run through, right? Where you work your butt off on a comedy and no one's laughing. And well, they're not really there to do that. So well, yeah, I think for this, it was less about the comedy and more about the circumstance, right? So this great comedy happens, right? Just playing the circumstance. And I think for us,
that's true.
It's great not to, the whole experience sometimes it was a comedy for me. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But I think it worked out okay, because I think if there were laughs, we'd have to adjust. And of course, that would be a whole nother thing we'd have to consider. Granted, I would take an audience any day, don't get me wrong. But in this quick process, I think that might have been just another element that would probably freak me out even more.
Yeah. Yeah. But, well, I hate to tell you, but I think the next show is going to get 3 weeks of rehearsal. Because I think what happened is we thought, well, we're just sitting on Zoom. Mm-hmm. How hard, how long can you possibly, it must be, it was crazy. Because that's the thing you always forget. And being an actor also is, anytime something new is added, even if you know the script, and now if I know it while I'm sitting down, I guarantee I won't remember it if I'm standing up. You know what I mean? It just, right. And now if I'm holding something or I'm looking at a real human being, what was it like the first time you took your masks off in front of each other? Was that scary?
Well, yeah, I think there's always that concern, but we had been tested twice. I mean, you guys, the zones, everything was so safe. I felt completely out of danger in any sort of way. It felt kind of invigorating to have it off and free to free. Wow. And look, oh my God, Jomar has a face. Look at that. And no, I was, yeah, it was wonderful to have it off, to be able to tell a story without a damn mask on your face. But yeah, I would agree with you that just getting it in your actual body, you need to be on the stage, right? You need to be able to associate. So lines, for instance, we're cramming lines in our heads. What typical rehearsal in a play, you're doing it. You're on stage. You're moving, so you're able to associate those lines with movement, for instance. Or that actor is going to do that when it triggers that line. So you can do that. It makes it much easier. So this 2 week on Zoom, it was difficult. So if any of those actors in your next performance complain about 3 weeks, have them come talk to me, will you please?
I will. So this is about the time that I'm gonna check in with Vera to see if there were any questions in the chat or comments that she wanted to share with us. Are you there, Vera?
Yes, I'm here, and we have a ton.
Oh, okay, bring them on.
All right. Let's start with this one as it relates to art. What discoveries did you make during the process of art? What felt new and surprising, even though the play is 25 years old?
That it is still extremely relative, that it still resonates today. I think as Bill said, if we look at our political divisions now, how we're so entrenched in our beliefs, so what we think is right, so much so that our friendships, our familial relationships are all put in danger because of these beliefs. There doesn't seem to be any sort of common ground. And this play, I think, really echoes that. So I was very surprised that, that it still held water and resonated more true than ever today, for sure.
Awesome.
I know there was a couple parts to that question, Vera, but I only caught the last one. I'm sorry.
That's perfect. That's great. One more follow-up for Art. There were a couple questions about how it was to do a mix between stage and film acting for Art, and also what was the toughest part to pull it off.
Yeah, well, I think I might have said it already, but I'll say it again. Time was not our friend in this process. We need a lot more time. And there's so many great roles that I've had the opportunity to play, and I didn't get the role, Higgins, for example, until closing night when, I got it. I finally got it. Right. And so I think with this, I mean, there's just, you can only get pieces, fragments of it, right? And hope that you can hold on to something. So because of that, it was just a really quick process. But the joy of being able to do theater and film in a sort of way, right? Two mediums I love, two very different mediums, but to be able to do them both after such a long lapse of being able to tell stories. I just, again, the gratitude I have for you guys to do this was overwhelming. I feel so lucky.
That's so sweet. A couple of people were asking whether you write your own plays because you love stories so much. Have you written any, or have you thought of writing a play?
So part of the, as I was saying earlier on about being typecast and stuck in whatever imagination a casting director has at that time, I realized in order to break some of that was to write, was to produce. So a friend of mine, Eric Wolfson, and I, as we moved down to LA, we formed a film company. We began to write our own material. We began to film our own stuff, which culminated into a feature film called Callback, The Unmaking of Bloodstain. And it had a grand opening in LA and San Francisco. And we helped write it. It was a huge, wonderful process. We took it on the film festival circuit and won lots of cool awards and things. It was quite an amazing journey to play a role that I guess I saw myself I could do, and I felt excited to do it, and I felt inspired to do that. But I had to take more control of the casting and be confident in what I wanted to do, as opposed to what somebody else said. So I took that with me when I came back up to San Francisco as well. And I have been doing some writing. I've written a couple screenplays. Haven't yet to go into the playwriting world because of so many incredible playwrights that I've gotten to work with already. But yes, I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of songwriting, I was a creative writing major at San Francisco State as well. So yes, there's a short answer.
That's great. So you went to Solano College and San Francisco State?
So I kind of did it backwards. As I said, after Solano College, I got accepted to ACT at a very young age. I hadn't quite finished my bachelor's or AA or anything really at that matter. So I went in at 20 years old and I graduated around 23 or so. Went off and did a lot of plays and became a professional actor for a while, but never had the MFA from ACT until years later when I came back to San Francisco, went to SF State to finish that BFA. And then the next play I did, I played Terry Malloy in On the Waterfront, a play version of that. I could have been a contender and all that great stuff. So I wrote my thesis on that and was able to get my master's way after the fact, years after I'd graduated from ACT.
Oh, wow. So you did all the schooling for your MFA, but since you didn't have the bachelor, they couldn't give it to you.
That's right.
Oh, what an interest. That's really cool.
So I went back, a little backwards, story of my life.
Hey.
I don't know what that means.
Hey, Vera, do you have anything else?
Sure, there are still some more questions.
Please,
there were a couple of questions about bucket list roles or dream roles? You've already spoken about that, but do you have a favorite play and why?
Dangerous question. I mean, the easy answer is it's always the current play, right? It's art is my
It's
favorite.
hard.
Actually, it's The Living right now that I'm directing down in San Jose State. But yeah, I think I have a lot of favorites. I don't know if there's particularly one. I mean, Higgins is just such a, again, something that was completely unexpected. And Bill and I had a long process of auditioning and talking about it. And it was during period of adjustment where he pulled me aside and said, I think I'm going to have you do this. And after he thought about it, you can tell he had thought about it. His poor guy's mind must have been bursting, but he had thought long and hard, and he offered me the role. And so in that experience, I'd spent 6 months prepping the dialect because he was a linguist, professor of linguistics. He had to know exactly how he was speaking. I had to sing and practice for 6 months as well. So it was a lot of work and effort into it, and such a rewarding, I think, experience. And I think, was it the last show at the small space up on Sutter?
It was, and it sold out
Bloody
every
Bloody was
night.
the next one, right? Right.
Yeah, it was sold out, and that was actually because it was sold out, and we actually couldn't sell all the tickets that wanted to be bought, and it was what convinced our board that we needed a bigger space, and that's how we got to move to 450 Post. And just, I don't know if you know this, Johnny, here's a little story about My Fair Lady. I was doing a play named Harper Regan by Simon Stevens, and Monique was playing my daughter, Monique Hafen, and it was directed by Amy Glazer, who cast Monique. There's so many fun stories that are like a domino, but she cast Monique when Monique came to see another play. I don't even know, maybe she came to see Period of Adjustment, who knows, but Amy saw her in the audience and said, "Are you an actor? I want you to come audition for a play." And it was Harper Regan. And while we were getting ready one night in our dressing room, and this is in the older theater, so it was right next to the offices, Monique was doing vocal warm-ups and she was singing. And Bill happened to walk by our closed dressing room door and heard it. And he knocked on the door and he said, "Wait, excuse me, were you just singing?" And she said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You can sing that high?" And she said, "Yeah, no problem. I can do," and she named off whatever it meant. And he goes, that night I got home and he goes, "We can do My Fair Lady. She can sing it." And so then you're doing Period of Adjustment. He's like, "Oh my God." And then we can do it we can make it super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monique is, she's my buddy. She's such a talented actor, singer as well. And we had done Fair Lady and of course Camelot. Then I asked her what she was doing next during Camelot. She says, "Well, I'm doing Three Penny Opera down in San Jose." I went, "What? Randy didn't call me?" So I quickly got on the phone and, "I hear you're doing Three Penny Opera, and have you cast Mac the Knife?" And he says, "Well, we had somebody in mind and we're not sure." And anyway, long story short, he had me come down and audition. I got the role. So Monique and I were back together again.
Oh my God.
But thanks to her. So.
Thanks to her. Yes, of course. All right, Vera. I think we have time for a couple of more.
All
Maybe
right.
one more.
Okay, I have two more. You can pick. One very specific one, kind of finishing off the subject of art. Johnny, playing that character who could have come off as one-dimensional and shallow, but didn't. What was your greatest challenge in creating such a deeply real and consistent persona?
Well, boy, I think this answer could pretty much go for any role, but how do I say? I don't think characters are found. I think characters are awoken, meaning that they're not out here where we try to grasp them and try to imagine some sort of cardboard cutout. They live within us, right? They live within our experiences. We breathe and we live them. So again, go out, experience, travel, see the world, do things, right? This is your reservoir. This is what you need to build up. So for us as actors, we have to open those doors. How would it be if I bought a $200,000 painting? Like what would be the onus to go and buy something like that? What's the passion behind that? What kind of risk is that, right? And imagining myself doing, I could probably do that. There's a lot of these roles I could actually do the things they do. Thankfully, I have more roles and I don't, and those doors remain closed. But to be able to open those doors as an actor, that's the great thing about acting, right? That's the whole journey. to be able to delve within your own psyche, your own emotional reservoir, and to embrace their humanity. So I think that's the basis for any role, but I think for Serge in particular, he, as Bill always says too, which I love about Bill and his directing, is that where's the love? I think it's a great place to start, right? Even the creepiest human being, we try not to judge our characters. I let the audience do that. But speaking of which, we have a great story about that in Promises. But for Serge in particular, I think he has such a love for his friends. He loves his friends. And of course, at the end, when he makes that decision to deface his $200,000 prize, it's for love. And I think that's where we need to start as actors. But I was going to quickly say, just a quick side with Promises, and I love telling this story. I tell my students, but we have this thing called the fourth wall, right? And the fourth wall is what separates the audience and the actors, unless you're doing something like Stupid Fucking Bird, right? But, and of course, Promises, where I played this really, I thought he was a pretty good guy, but, he was cheating on his wife. He had this girlfriend, Monique, of course, and she had knitted him a scarf for Christmas, and he didn't have any present. So he handed her $100 to go buy something. He thought it was a really nice thing to do. He's got the scarf on. I've got the scarf on. And all of a sudden I feel the scarf kind of get hit with something, and the scarf fell. And I look up at Monique, and Monique looks like this. And I'm going, what the heck just happened? And I run backstage, and Maggie comes back. I think she was stage manager, going, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that woman threw that at you. I said, what? Someone threw something at me? Apparently she had taken up all the paper towel and got it wet in her drink and hucked it 8 rows back and nailed me right in the chest. And I thought, oh, wow, this fourth wall thing, it doesn't really
Oh
work.
my God, because she was so mad at your
She was
character?
so upset, and she wasn't the only one. People would get up and scream. They would call me asshole. It would go on and on and on. I got really nervous in that play. I think I was telling Bill as well. Sometimes I wanted to put my hand up against my face as I was walking on the set. It was a musical comedy, for crying out loud, but still, people were very, very emotional about it. Maybe it's Christmas. Things happen.
Oh, it's Monique's fault. They fell in love with her and didn't like you not being nice to her.
I want to do, yes.
Wow.
Anyway.
So pearls, everyone. He's giving us pearls here. I think you should write a book about acting. I love that it's awakening something, because so many people think that being an actor means pretending to be something that you're not, when really it's allowing to be something that is within you. Like you say, when it's something bad, you close the door and go away, but we all have good and bad inside of us. So that is such a beautiful way. You're such a good professor. All right, Vera, you had one more. Let's do that, and then I got to get to my quick fires.
Yes. Are your students going to be watching the show, and will you watch it with them?
I'm assuming you mean Art?
Correct.
Yes. I've given it to them as an extra credit assignment. I didn't feel like I could make it mandatory, but if they feel so inclined to watch it, they're more than welcome. I've reminded them a couple times.
That's great. Thanks so much, Johnny.
A not so easy A. Maybe they get an A- unless they did watch it.
I guess I could do that, but
I'm kidding. Okay. So I don't even want this to end. I'm refill, get your drink. Gosh.
really good, isn't it? This is
It's
really
so good. This is so good. I'm starting to forget that we have people watching. Bill went out to get our dinner, so he's going to come back just in time for me to have some more. Okay, so I have come up with 10 questions, and I call it my bonus round. So yeah, get ready, take a little sip of wine, and here we go. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Dream meal.
Say again?
Dream meal.
God, sushi.
Favorite word?
Yes.
One item on your bucket list, something you haven't done yet.
New Zealand.
Love it. If you could have a drink with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be?
I mean, besides Susie, my wife.
You're so good, Johnny. What's your favorite song or lyric?
How that changes.
What is one of your
favorite
favorite songs?
song right now is a beautiful song called "The Universe" by Gregory Alan Isaacoff. It's called "The Universe." It's a beautiful song. There's a lyric that comes to mind though that's separate from that. It's another song from a U2 song. I think it's "Throw a rock in the air, you'll hit someone guilty." I think is the line.
I love it. What is your go-to quote?
I think I just said it.
Throw a rock in the air and you'll hit someone guilty. I love it.
That works. Yeah.
So, what is the title of your memoir?
Oh God, why? No, yeah, I think I'd call it that.
I love it. What's the best advice you've received or given?
I apologize for those listening that might be underage. If you don't like the way I work, you can go fuck yourself. It was from a famous acting teacher named Bobby Lewis from the group theater 1930, from the 30s. He came to teach us at ACT, and it was legendary, but he couldn't hear because he had these hearing aids, and his assistant had to keep shouting, "Bobby, channel 5, Bobby, channel 5. So unless you could shout while you were acting, he thought your work was shit, and apparently mine was.
Oh, wait, what was his advice again?
If you don't like the way I work, you can go fuck yourself. He told me. That it stuck with me. I'll never forget it. This is a legend
Right on.
talking about. I'm going, wow. He told me that.
That
I'm so
the
lucky.
group theater was there, yeah, it's kind of like a rock. Okay, last question.
Mhm.
What do we need most right now?
Stories. We need storytelling. We need live theater. We need communication. We need to speak to one another. We need to give hugs. We need to touch and shake hands and remember that we're human together, and that together we can do incredible, amazing things.
Oh, Johnny, that's so beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here, introducing me to this fabulous new wine. Give your wife, sorry about that. Give your wife and daughter a hug for me. I want to thank all the donors who are here for and all of you who bought your free ticket and also gave a little bit extra. We couldn't be here without you. If you'll get a thank you after this. If you didn't do it before, consider donating. But most important, well, not most important, I want to thank Vera she's the woman behind the scenes who's making this all happen. And I just want to let you know, we've put a pause on our fireside chats and Zooblets right now so that you can all focus on watching art, telling people about art. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go to our website, get a ticket. We've got a wide range of prices from $15 to $100, whatever you can do. Tell your friends, get it out there, because it's truly, it's our way of giving a light at the end of this tunnel, that we can tell stories, and what we want now is just to give that to the world. So again, thank you for being here, and that's the end of Fireside Chats tonight with Johnny. Bye, Johnny.
Hi, Susie. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're clear.